All right, this was not expected. Dante Moore with the decision 2. Shades of LeBron James. Taking his talents where? We'll talk about it here. 99 days until the NFL draft. Muench, I know you're rushed. Pretty good?
I'm great, man.
Tucker, roll that beat. Not a visual that anyone wants, but I'm in the shower just about a half hour ago, getting prepared. We've got a great show that was kind of taping parts to get an unbelievable preview and some analysis for the national championship game in college football coming up, the CFP. The McShay Show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live, and your way so you can build the bet that fits your play. Plus, don't miss out on all the action during the rest of the college football playoffs. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/McShay to get started. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. And all of a sudden I'm getting text and I see it on my watch in the shower, like, make sure you get the shampoo in. And it's like, something's coming up. Get ready for it. And I was like, what? So I text the group. I'm like, something's coming up in a few minutes. It might be Dante. And then it was like, oh, I don't think it is. Maybe it's Harbaugh. Maybe. And then it turns out it's Dante making a decision on SportsCenter, 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. And man, there's been a lot of hype about this. I think it's because the New York market is so worked up. And I think there's a lot of people in the New York market with the Jets, as Jets fans, who wanted Dante Moore as the number 2 overall pick in this draft. And a lot of others who have been blowing me up about how they don't want him. Go back to Oregon or let him go to Arizona at pick 3. So there was more anticipation for this. Like Ty Simpson just announced last week. We did a special on that. We came on a couple hours later. We did a show and sent it out. Now we're like, we got to get it going. We got to get it out there and what. But not to bury the lead. It's surprising Dante Moore is going back to Oregon for another year, but it's the right decision. Do you agree or disagree?
Couldn't agree more. I mean, I love to give you a hard time about the snaps thing, but the data doesn't lie. There's 25 starts you need. He's got 20 now. You go back, you get that starting experience, you put yourself in a way better position for long-term success. Now, only time will tell really if this is the right decision. I will push back a little bit on that because there is the concern that he could go the way of a Drew Aller from Penn State or Cade Klubnik from Clemson, who would have gone early had they come out. Right. Yep. Who would have gone early had they come out last year. But I don't think you make decisions based on fear and doubt. You make decisions based on the best information available to you. You trust yourself. You bet in yourself. And for me, that's why it's the right decision today to go back.
It's interesting because remember we had this conversation in October. I talked to a scout when I asked him about Dante Moore because he had been into Oregon recently, and he said, "What are we talking about?" He's like we, whether either myself or other people, in our organization or other scouts who are on the trail with me, talked to mom, dad, agent, Dante, coaches. He's coming back. And that coincided with Oregon kind of going through a little bit of, bumps in the road in the middle of the year. Wide receivers with injuries. Sadiq wasn't stepping up. He was injured a little bit. Kenyon Sadiq, the tight end, who since has announced, and he will be a first-round draft pick, very likely the first tight end off the board. But then the end of the season started to happen, and the play started to elevate for Dante. And you saw a lot of the stuff that you saw from earlier in the season, but kind of even better, right? And you saw this consistency in his play. And then the breaking news, offensive coordinator, Will Stein, who we've been hyping up on the show for the last couple of years, the same guy in Will Stein who helped develop Bo Nix into kind of an afterthought, borderline, like, I don't want to, laughing stock is too rich, but like, yeah, he just can't do that. Bo Nix can't do that at Auburn in the NFL, and developed him into the number 12 overall pick. And we see now he's leading the number 1 seed Denver Broncos, in pursuit of a Super Bowl this year. And then Dylan Gabriel comes in as this well-traveled guy who, bounced around, really good college player, but he's not going to. And then he's the third round pick by the Browns, and he's starting a bunch of games as a rookie. And so Stein leaves, and you're like, well, what would he come back to? And he's playing so great, Dante is. And then the draft order comes out. It's like Vegas 1, Jets 2, He's going to be, if he's not the first overall pick, he's going to be the second overall pick. But then the Peach Bowl happens.
and then this is,
you know what I mean?
This is, again, why it's so easy to overreact, to get caught up in the moment. And I don't mind snapshots. I think snapshots are good as long as they're put in the right perspective. But it's like, you have to remember where you are in the timeline, right? And there were so many times where he's definitely coming out. Well, he's definitely going back. He's definitely coming out. And you don't know until the final decision had to be made, which was today.
I guess there were some seeds kind of dropped. We saw Kenyon Sadiq decide to leave early, but that was kind of a no-brainer decision based on his draft status. But on the opposites, and Dylan Thieneman, the safety, who's supposed to run like the 4.3s and is going to put on a display at the combine from everyone in the league that I've talked to. He's leaving as well.
Right.
But those were both expected. I mean, Thieneman was absolutely expected. Sadiq was absolutely expected. But then there were the guys who were kind of all on the fence. Scouts kind of thought, yeah, they probably will leave, but we're not certain, started to return. All on the defensive side except the offensive lineman Lalaulu. But Amori Washington, defensive tackle. Mateo Uyunglele, edge. Tatum Tuioti, another edge. Bear Alexander, another interior. Their entire defensive line's coming back. So you started to get this like momentum, like maybe he's going to come back. And then I'm talking to people the last like 16 hours, Muench. I think he might be coming back, but I don't know that he's going back to Oregon. Stein's gone.
Oh,
yes. Stein's gone. Miami, Tennessee, Ole Miss are all in search of quarterbacks, and the money, Todd, is astronomical. And then Ty comes out and says, yeah, Miami offered me $6.5 million. And Tennessee was at, or something, I think it was Tennessee was at 4, and then Ole Miss came and matched it. And we'll get to Ty Simpson in a minute at the end. So you're starting to wonder, would Oregon get outbid? And then I start, and then the reasonable rational person says, Uncle Phil's there, Phil Knight, like they're not going to get outbid, but maybe there's a better opportunity.
That's true.
And still undecided, to my knowledge, is Evan Stewart, who was tracking towards potentially being a first overall pick. I think safe to say like top 50, first 2 rounds. I don't know if his decision has been made, but apparently he's trying to come back to school, but maybe wind up in the draft. So there's just been a lot of unrest in the last several days since Oregon lost that game. And they lost in ugly fashion. And they lost both coordinators. And so there were so many factors that went into this. But the thing I held on to the entire time, even when I thought, he's probably going to leave. Everyone I've talked to, remember I said I talked to a head coach recently in the NFL for like just shy of an hour? Scouts I've talked to, general managers I've talked to, people in college football. The first word that comes out of everyone's mouth about this young man, Dante Moore, maturity. Like until you're around him, Todd, until you get to spend some time with him, it's hard to articulate just how mature he is. And it started with that first scout in October who was like, he's too like he's got his stuff together too much to make a rash decision and to come out just because he's going to be a top 5 pick. He sees the big picture, unlike some others. I'm not just saying quarterbacks, but some others in the draft. Well, I get a chance to be a first rounder. I got to go. He sees the big picture. And the big picture is this, Muench. I went through the whole list when we had the Ty Simpson show, right? When he declared just over a week ago. From Bo Nix and his 63 starts to all the way down to the guys in the 30s. And every single quarterback of merit in the NFL, the guys who even struggled this year but were really good a year ago, like guys who have had success recently in the NFL, every single one of those quarterbacks, minimum 25 starts. And only 3 of those guys were sub 30 starts. Bryce Young, I think, was 28. Verdict's still out, but I laugh at people who say, is he the long-term man? Did you see him in that playoff game? Like my dude's small. My dude doesn't have the biggest arm, but he just makes plays. But more importantly, the 2 other guys who are sub 30 are, as I always say, they're superhuman. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Everyone else is 30-plus starts in the league. This is a more important list. I won't go through that one. This is a more important list that I've been compiling. And I'm going to go through. Of first-round quarterbacks in the last, let's say, 15 years or so, dating back to Sanchez in 2009. So 16 years. These are the guys who have had sub-20 starts. And Dante Moore, I want to remind everyone, got his 20th start against in that last game against Indiana in the Peach Bowl, the loss. Mitch Trubisky and Anthony Richardson are the 2 guys with 13 starts, both massive busts. Dwayne Haskins, Cam Newton, 14 starts. Cam was superhuman and had was very successful for a couple of years. Did not have, when the mobility went and the wear and tear went, so did his career. 16 starts, Mark Sanchez. I thought it was 13, but apparently it was 16. Kyler Murray, is it 15, somewhere in that range, but the 1 year as a starter at Oklahoma, 2019. Ryan Tannehill had 19 starts. Trey Lance had 17 starts. I know it's kind of all over the place there, but it ranges from 2009 to 2023. All the first-round quarterbacks with sub-20 starts. You can argue, Cam had an MVP season, and and Tannehill had a really nice career. And Kyler Murray had some moments, but they're already ready to turn the page, it looks like, in Arizona. So you look at that list with Trubisky and Richardson and Haskins and Lance and Sanchez, like it's not a good list. And that he would have been putting himself in. He would have had to be the outlier. And that's what Ty Simpson's trying to be as well, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thoughts?
I agree with everything you're saying. Like I love Dante Moore's game. I mean,
talk to me. What do you see on tape?
Well, he's the height. He starts with the frame. And then it's the release, how easy the ball comes out of his hand. Then you see the layered throws, which are NFL throws, the ability to drop the ball in over linebackers. I think he's very accurate when he gets time and space. He has the mobility to extend plays and scramble for first downs. I think that's an underrated tool for him. There's just a lot to like there. So I love his game, but even like we have these conversations over a period of time about players, and we were talking after the game, after the semifinal game against Indiana, and you were like, yeah, but the starts, bud. And then it was sinking in for me. Like, yeah, I think he's one of the best players in this draft. He's going to be one of the top 2 picks. I don't think it's a done deal that Mendoza would go ahead of him if he came out. I really believe that, but it scares the hell out of me. So when you think about it that way and you put it that way, I'm just so glad. I'm glad he's going back. I just think we know enough to know that it puts him in a good position to succeed. And again, just to reference this quickly, yes, this could go south. He could have a bad year. I understand that. Will Stein's leaving. I get all of that. But you gotta bet on yourself. You got to do what you think is the best thing for you long term instead of what's best for me now. And I think that ties into the Ty Simpson conversation. We get to that too. Like, I just don't understand that decision in terms of what we're looking to do in terms of long-term success. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, when I watch Dante, he's just so effortless. He's such a clean, smooth stroke. Throws the most catchable ball of any quarterback that we've talked about in the country this year. A lot of shades of Stroud, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the good and some of the bad, to be honest with you. Stroud didn't like to run, but was really functional when on the move and run and doing those things. In fact, I would argue sometimes when I watch Dante on tape, almost seems a little bit more comfortable when he's moving around a little bit.
Yeah.
He leads receivers. He anticipates throws. As you talked about, the layering is beautiful. It just looks really effortless, NFL-ish, if you will, right? I think his career is going to be really good at the next level. And I think that this decision is going to set him up for that success. And yes, he's turning down a 4-year deal that would probably get him like a $30-something million signing bonus. It would all be guaranteed. It would be around $48 million based off of what last year's top 2 picks in the draft were. And it would be front-loaded, but all guaranteed. But now he goes back. He'll probably make $5 or $6 million. And I could promise him his odds, his percentages, his likelihood of getting to that second contract where these guys are making tens of millions a year and getting real rich. Like now your grandchildren will be affected positively by the money, hopefully, if it's managed well. We've seen that go the other way. But you know what I mean? Like this is stuff that's going to trickle down generations.
Do you think the Indiana tapes, and I really think both tapes, but even more so the semifinal game, do you think they played a role in him? I think if you're trying to convince, and I think that both of these things can be true. If I'm Dan Lanning, I obviously want Dante Moore back playing for me. And I'm trying to convince him of why that's the best move for him, even though it's also the best move for your team. I think both things can be true, right? You want it to be the best move for your team. You can also believe it's the best move for your player. I think you can sit down and watch that Indiana tape and say, you could be better. This is where you could be better, and this is where we can help you get to that point where there were times I felt like in the Indiana game after a while, they were throwing so much at him that he was starting, not seeing ghosts, that's too harsh. I think he was starting to doubt where he should go with the ball, and it was slowing him down, and he wasn't as quick and aggressive as I've seen him at other times, and he wasn't taking certain chances. I think one of the strip sacks, he had to let it rip. He had a guy down.
He had to let it rip. And the pick six was inexperience.
And he didn't. So I think that I wonder if those tapes, and not necessarily, I don't mean a super negative way. I think it's a good thing for young players to look and say, you know, here are the flaws, and here's what we can do to work on them. You know, it doesn't have to be a negative thing, but I do wonder, had he won that game and had Oregon gone on to win a national championship, would the decision be different?
Rinse, refine, repeat. That's what I talk about all the time with these quarterbacks. Exactly. There is so much value in rinse, refine, repeat. And rinse is, and he just said on SportsCenter, I'm going to go on a vacation. It's been a long year. And
did he say that? I didn't say it. Yeah.
Go take some of Uncle Phil's money and go on a nice vacation and rinse. Then come back ready to refine. Refinement happens first with self-scouting, right?
Right.
He needs to go and figure out why it is he's so inconsistent. Honestly, if I'm advising him, it's the first thing. Why are we so inconsistent with pressure? Because there's moments where you're great, but a lot of your problems have come with the inside pressure. And I pointed that back out when we were watching him against Northwestern earlier in the year. Secondly is you're making so many great reads on so many plays, but you make a mistake like the pick six, or you hold on to the ball too long. The example you just gave, the strip sack. How can we speed up this process? And then it's figuring out, is it the existing offensive coordinator who's supposed to be popped up? I don't have his name again right now. It doesn't matter. Or I think everyone on social media was going, right, get over yourself, Dante. Why are you taking so long? Because there's a lot more that goes into just making the decision. Or a lot that goes into making the decision. Then once you've made the decision, you've got to be prepared to go and talk about it. And maybe if you're leaving, write a letter and all. So for him, I think part of it, and I think we'll only time will tell, there were some clauses put in terms of what supporting cast am I going to have, coaching and teammates, right? If I'm getting this kind of money to come back, is it still being allotted, am I comfortable with who I'm working with next year? Because I just lost Will Stein. So there was a lot that went into this decision. But at the end of the day, man, I feel so much better about Dante Moore and his NFL future and his ability to get to that second contract as a really good starting quarterback than I would if I was sitting here right now and he just said, thank you so much, Oregon. I appreciate everything you've done for me, but it's time for me to go to the NFL.
I agree. And I've been bullish on him.
I know.
Okay, go ahead.
I know. Now, real quickly, you're the Jets. And you're Arizona. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's only two, and maybe we still don't know. So right now, this quarterback class consists of, and we're talking the guys that have a chance to go in the first 2 rounds. Fernando Mendoza, very likely number 1 overall pick to the Raiders.
Yep.
I actually think Tom Brady's going to love this guy. Ty Simpson with 15 starts. Carson Beck from Miami, who will be playing in the national championship, who's shown a lot of improvement and maturity, but still is far from a perfect prospect and not a guy that I'm going to hang my hat on saying he's definitely our QB1 and we're going to go win a lot of games in the NFL. Trinidad Chambliss, who was appealing the decision that the NCAA came down against my orders, but it sounds like he actually might have a decent chance of winning that appeal. And throw in Garrett Nussmeier. That's it.
I honestly feel bad laughing when you say the Jets because let's be upfront about some things with the Jets, and I think we kind of need to clear up, or I need to clear up. I laugh sometimes because it's better than crying, and it's just not fair to that fan base, which has nothing to do with that organization's.
Some of I'd say unfortunately for them, like the highest percentage of friends I have outside of Patriots, because I live here and outside of Boston, are Jets fans. Executives I've worked with, like it seems like I have like 80% of my friends and the people I associate seem to be Patriots or Jets fans. It seems so. I actually care.
And there's some great people that work in that organization, man.
Oh,
there are some
I promise
outstanding people that work for the Jets, and I
promise you.
This is just
but why are we looking? But I'm going to flip this on you, Steve.
Okay.
Why isn't this the best thing that happened to the Jets?
It could be if they make
maybe they get Dante Moore when he's ready in 2027.
100%. I hear you.
Let me give you this list. Maybe they get Arch,
right,
or Lenoris Sellers after another year of experience and seasoning. Dante Moore, Julian Sayin, CJ Carr takes it to another level. Brandon Sorsby, Levitt, who just got the Brinks truck backed up for him by Lane Kiffin. You think Sam Levitt is not going to be a better quarterback
100%
next year at this moment than he is with a year with Lane? Iamaliava, Mensa, Mateer, Maava.
Yep.
And do they have 3 first-rounders in 2027? Is that right?
I want to say yes. I'm not 100% sure.
I think it is. So why isn't
it? Could be.
Why are the Jets looking at this and saying, you know what, we need these 2 first-round picks to get better? We just gave up Quinnen Williams. We just gave up Revis. No, I keep saying Revis Island.
Gardner.
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they look at this and say, all right, we got a year to kind of replenish, bring in some veterans, get the system going, and by 2027, we'll be ready to draft a quarterback, plug him in, and start to roll.
Yeah, I agree with you. It can be. I will say, kind of to the point I was making, is that the Jets fan base, that's you want to sell them on that, great. For them, it's been a long winter, man. Like they're ready for this thing to turn around sooner than later. But you're right. If they play this right, and if they're patient and they don't succumb to pressure, because I think fans are going to want a quarterback, if they don't succumb to the pressure and they build that roster the correct way and they build something that's when young quarterback's ready to go, It could be the best thing that happened to him. It could be.
I want to read this quote about the other quarterback in this draft that's not Fernando Mendoza now. A lot of teams are going to have him as the second-rated quarter, Ty Simpson. Chris Lowe did an awesome read. Check it out. I'm a huge fan of Chris Lowe, friends and worked with him for a long time. He had an interview with Ty Simpson. This is the quote from Ty. Everybody would just remember me as the guy who took all this money and went to Miami or Tennessee for his last year. But I was a captain. I put my hand and footprints in this cement, the cement, he probably said, at Denny Chimes. I would have lost everything that I built at Alabama. This is in response talking about how Tennessee, Miami, and Ole Miss were offering $4 million to him to come to their programs. And the Hurricanes upped it to $6.5 million after I think they lost out on Sam Levitt, right?
Yeah.
And apparently Tennessee may have come back and offered the same. So I want you to be honest, not give me the answer that you want to give and couch it here. I want you to be honest with what your initial reaction was when you read that.
I didn't get it. I didn't get what he had built there. And I mean no offense to Ty Simpson, who I think has played at a high level. Alabama teams win championships, my man. Like, you didn't do that. It came across to me of like he was saying like I had built. I don't know what he built. Alabama's built. It's already built. It's just like I didn't understand the comment. I really didn't, and I'm not sure. I just it didn't make sense to me. And listen. I have a high opinion of Ty Simpson when he's playing at his best, but I have no idea what he meant by that.
I've read a lot of that, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's rubbing me the wrong way.
Great.
And I may be wrong
tell me
too.
Why.
Because I think people forget that Ty Simpson grew up a son of a coach. He's been around ball his whole life. There's a loyalty to it. There's a respect factor for the process and for the game and for the coaches and for doing it the right way. Now, I don't know enough about Ty Simpson, the person yet. Hold on. No, let me finish. I'll let you finish.
You're right. I'm sorry.
In this day and age where everyone's mercenaries, I hear mercenaries in scouting reports. I read some NFL scouting reports after the fact, and there's more talk about mercenaries and players who don't love the game and than there is sometimes about traits. Like, it's so important to figure out what makes these guys tick, right? And so to see a guy who's not only like with his actions, but I guess with his words coming out, and you can call it what you want, but he's standing on his business, and his business was, I was there for 4 years. I did the grind. I did everything that was asked of me. I got my shot. I did a lot of good things with no run game, with offensive line protection that kept failing me a little bit more and more as the season progressed, with coaching rumors swirling and everything else. I was here. I was coach's guy. And so, yeah, maybe I'm not going to be considered. Maybe I will be mistaken for A.J. McCarron, or maybe I will be put in the same bubble as like a Jalen Milroe, whatever. But I believe that I did something here, and I'm proud of what I did. And I don't want to be just another guy who bounced around to get the money. So when I read the quote, I was like, good on you, kiddo. Good on you. Like, I like that, Ty.
There's things I like about that. And I'll say this is what's driven me nuts about some of this. I can appreciate a player staying in the same place and working their way up and competing and not just leaving to go for an easier opportunity to play. I think that's fine. What I really irks me, and you just kind of hinted at it in a different way, is when there's a but at the end of that, or there's this implication that that's the right way. Where a guy like a Cam Ward who transfers to a couple of different schools didn't do it the right way. That's the implication. I'm not saying you're saying that, but there is an implication here.
No.
There's an implication that if a guy goes to another school because it's a better opportunity for him and it's a chance for him to improve himself, that's not as good as him staying in the same place. And I just don't buy that anymore. And I'll tell you something else really quickly to hint on this. You could give me all the talk about mercenary and reports, and you could talk about players bouncing around. Look at the quarterbacks that have been drafted in the first round. All of them are transferring. Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, Bo Nix, Cam Ward. Who do you want to talk about?
Drake May didn't.
Drake May's the only one. So you got one.
But I'm not saying.
So there's one.
I'm not. No, I think you're missing my point.
Oh, maybe I am.
My point isn't that like I'm old school. I'm 80s, 90s, man. You got to stay with your. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when he comes out and says his decision was based on some good stuff. Why are we like taking shots at that? And yeah, I'm not ignorant to the fact. I'm not ignorant to the fact that he is a coach's son and he knows what coaches want to hear and he knows what NFL scouts want to hear. And that scouts eat this stuff up. Coaches in the NFL eat this stuff up. And so I'm not saying that part of it. And yes, I get it. His dad's been a little too vocal about all of his opportunities and he's getting first round grades for your liking. And I could go either way on that, like in today's day and age. But my point is, all he said was, I wanted to be remembered as the guy who came here and did it the right way. Who was an Alabama guy.
He talks about what he built at Alabama and how he'd be throwing it all away. It was a little more heavy-handed for me than that. I would never proactively come out on the show and say like that was I heard this and this is what I said. You did ask me, so I'm going to be honest and I'm going to respond. I don't think it's for me. It's not something that I would bring up on my own, and that's fine. I'll react to like we have conversations. I have no problem giving my honest opinion on something you asked me about, but like it is a little more heavy-handed than that. It is a little more than that. And again, you could tell me that scouts eat it up, and then I look at every quarterback's draft in the first round, and they're all transferring. So, like, again, Drake May.
I'm not saying it's the right way. And by the way,
Quinn Ewers did the same thing. Quinn Ewers did the same thing. And the reason he did it, because he wasn't going to start the next year. And my gut is that Ty Simpson was in real danger of not starting at Alabama next year.
I think there's a real chance, too. And I think I just said last week he should have gone back.
Be honest about it all. Like
he should have gone back, and if he had to transfer, like however it worked out, he should have. The same reasons I'm congratulating Dante Moore. The same reasons I said I don't like this for Ty Simpson. I don't think he's ready. However, I'm not going to cut this as someone who's trying to do it the right way and is proud of what he did at Alabama. I feel like we're just so fucking cynical in this industry. Everyone's so quick to be like, oh, man, oh, whatever. You know, it's like. How about we kind of give
I respect the way he did it. I really do respect the way that Ty Simpson did that. And I don't want to come across as me saying that or anything other than that. I think there's something to be said for staying there and working and competing and finally getting your shot and all of that. I do think there's another thing when you're trying to make that a selling point and let other people do that for you. That's not something that you necessarily have to come out and do for yourself. I also respect the way that Cam Moore did it. I also respect the way that Jaden Daniels did it.
I do too.
Everyone has a different path, and we could celebrate all of these different paths.
This wasn't the path for him, and he's proud of what he did.
But why not? Why isn't it? Why doesn't he go to somewhere like Miami and play for another year? I don't get it. There's not enough. Like I think when it seems like a justification for why this has had you come out because he's throwing away everything at Alabama. I don't get again. It's just a bridge too far for me. I'm with you up until a certain point, and then I get to the point of, well, dude, I really like your game. I think you have a chance to be a really good NFL quarterback. And I'm saying the same thing about Dante Moore. Go back for another year and put yourself in a position to succeed. I want you to succeed. But when I read a quote like that, I'm thinking to myself, like, we're not, maybe he's right and I'm wrong, but we're not on the same page.
I can't wait for Ty Simpson to be a perennial all-pro and shove it right up your ass.
Me neither. I can't wait either, Todd. I hope he does. Like I do.
I'm joking.
I would love to be wrong about this one. There's plenty that I'd love to be wrong about, but
I just think everyone's such a curmudgeon.
Yeah, but you're the snaps guy.
But why are we getting mad about this? I don't know. That's a good conversation. We got to get out of here. And we got a special show coming up on Friday. I'm really excited. We've got two great guests. We're going to break down this national championship game. Chris Felica, Miami grad, loves and hates Miami every single year. And Todd Blackledge, who I think is one of the, may actually be the best college football, one of the best college football analysts out there in terms of watching a game and what he's unbelievable. And I had the the privilege of working with him for a few years, and he's just as good a human being. So I'm excited to break down Indiana, Miami with those two, not together. We're going to break it up in different sections, get the best of them, probably talk a little gambling, little FanDuel stuff with the Bear, Felica, and certainly get deep into the X's and O's with Blackledge. So hope you enjoyed this. We had to break in. I mean, it was a huge decision, and Dante made it theatrical, and we appreciate that. And we're really happy for Dante because we think he made the right decision. All right. Muench, even though you're a pain in my ass, still 5 stars.
I love you, man.
Working with him for a few years, and he's just as good a human being. So I'm excited to break down Indiana, Miami with those two, not together. We're going to break it up in different sections, get the best of them, probably talk a little gambling, little FanDuel stuff with the Bear, Felica, and certainly get deep into the X's and O's with Blackledge. So that's tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed this. We had to break in. I mean, it was a huge decision, and Dante made it theatrical, and we appreciate that. And we're really happy for Dante because we think he made the right decision. All right. Muench, even though you're a pain in my ass, still 5 stars.
I love you, man.
Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.